Guys, welcome back. I had some sort of oddity on my lens. I was getting the weirdest sort of ghosting effects, but this is Craft Roulette, or I guess I shouldn't say this isn't Craft Roulette, but this is Craft Roulette process video for episode 163. The parameters for this week's episode were three tags, flower garden colors, and what were the other ones? Oh, May as an element. Yeah, and masking is the fourth element. So this is going to be basically a coloring video. So if you're not here for that, I'm going to review sort of how the card will get together, and then I'm probably going to speed up. I don't know. I may talk or speed up the coloring depending on how it comes out. But anyway, so there are three tags in this picture. There is the price tag on the eggs. There's the name tag on the cashier. There's the UPC tag on the carton. And flower garden colors, I'm using a blue card base. I did round the corners on both of these. Um, so when the finished card is basically going to look like this, I also grabbed some light blue oh boy ink so that we can just sort of edge the card at the end. And this is Hammermill 100 in case you're wondering what paper I'm using for future reference. And there is masking as the grocer is standing in front of the crate, so you can see that he's blocking that in the back. Um, Obviously, with digital stamps, masking is pretty straightforward because all of the software does it for you, so that makes it easy. The other thing is I'm debating whether or not I want to use some washi masking tape as an accent, which I might do somewhere. I guess I probably won't, given how this is cut, but or you could also do that. But we've got a little masking here. May in the sentiment, sort of, or I should say, I guess the slogan of the store, who is a very helpful. It's a very helpful store. They really want to help you. And Flower Garden is basically a rainbow, so we're going to have a lot of colors, but basically bright colors mostly, and then sort of neutrals probably for some of the outfits. I really liked how the Worm Gray 05 came out, so I think they'll have probably like brown aprons, but I'm thinking green we'll probably use as a primary color. Oh, sorry, it's Rose Garden, not Flower Garden. But anyway, we'll probably use sort of mid-tone and a dark green because to me, like roses are just the rose, the leaves of the rose are always a very dark green, which sort of contrasts with the bright colors. But that's basically what we're going to do. And I might use thinking we might grab some washi tape quick and use a little masking on the inside as well, because I think it would be neat to sort of box this off a little bit. So this green and silver, actually this will work pretty well. I've been using it for a number of things, but I think it will work quite nicely here. I never get too worried if the washi itself is a little wonky because or I should say the edge on it's a little strange because we can always cut it off. I'm just getting some extra adhesive off the surface of the washi, and we will do that. I'll do the same thing here, and basically you'd still just write the message on the inside, but what I will do is, now you can just wrap these around, but I think because this is the back of the card, that might look a little bit messy, so I am just going to trim it off. Pretty much if you peel anything you think might be the card, you're probably over trimming. And we can get that little bit off, and then there we go. I've used these for adhesives a few times. I should probably invest in a new pair of like paper only scissors since these are slightly gummed up. I don't know if you guys have suggestions on how to get gook off of scissors. I would be more than willing to hear. But basically, this is sort of how our inside breaks down, where we have the masking tape, and then you have room to write a message in here. This is sort of this falls very much into a custom card kind of idea, because I'm making this for my aunt, who often comes with us, or I should say comes into town, on the days that we have our farm share or our community-sponsored agriculture share in the summer. So that's sort of where the idea came from, and you can see this. And let's see what we want to do with colors. Probably going to use R29 and R18 and R20, because these are the ones I've been liking the most as like base. I generally start with R20. That's a little bit better. Easier to see what's going on anyway. And then I'm going to do the same thing on his neck. These are part of a grocer series that was from the Greeting Farm, or I should say is. It's still available. I'm kind of keeping a disconnection between the rosiness of the cheeks and this. This does blend very closely because it's almost the same color. In fact, this one might be slightly more pink. The neck I'm not really as worried about because it's not really a focal point. These characters are interesting, of course, in that they don't have noses. So for this one, so R20 can be used, and that'll turn out somebody who has quite a rosy complexion. We'll use it on him. I guess I should give him a name. His name is technically Ian because he is from the Greeting Farm. But I'll show you on. I don't actually know what the other character's name is. It's not Anya. It's one of the side characters, I believe. But and when applying the blending ink, I tend to um, use the marker at more of a 45-degree angle to the paper so you can get more of a juicier look. As this dries, if you want, we can always come back and reblend it later if desired. Um, while I'm here, I'm just going to do his little hand. You can't see his other hand. I'm curious though if we went back in with like do a little like that. I think we are good. I'm going to grab the so we have two potentials. We'll just swatch here for a minute. So if we just grab a little bit of, let's just grab some R18 to just lay down a base. R18 actually on its own is going to create sort of a paler look, so we could potentially also just use that as a blending ink. But the other option is to, that's way too dark. This is Worm Gray 3, so probably not going to work. But Worm Gray 1, you can use either Worm Gray 1 or Worm Gray 0.05, which is hiding from me somewhere. Oh, here it is. So that's Worm Gray 1. This is Worm Gray 05. Worm Gray 05 is much closer. So if you use Worm Gray 05, Worm Gray 05 and the R29 are extremely close. But if you basically take either of these colors and then layer a little bit of the other Worm Gray on top, it gives you more of that kind of a much more muted sort of color. If we just put some color down again. Layering the Worm Gray 01, sorry, the 0.5 is going to give you less variance. But as you can see, compared to the red, this is going to be a much peachier tone. So I think that's what we'll do for the other character, which means we basically get rid of the 20 and just start in with 29. This is, of course, just my take on this. You can do it however you would like. I'm going to sort of do less connected lines, I think, this time, just because I kind of feel like the curliness of the hair should kind of go into the rest of the character as well. Um, that upper arm there doesn't really matter because you're not going to see much of it. Then I'm going to go to R18 and sort of pull some of that color into the center of the face. If these were less stylized, like, obviously sort of real faces have sort of, I don't know what you want to call it, have cheekbones, right? I mean, these kind of don't because of the way they're stylized, but I mean, potentially also, I just kind of like this as a blend. I think I'll just continue this. And I am getting into Copic slowly, so if you've seen any of those videos and now you're kind of confused why I'm using a hoo-hoos, it's because this set is probably larger. And then you can see on the dry down here, like I kind of want to go back in with the R18. Sorry, R29, and just work in some of these areas where it didn't quite fully blend out. And go over his ears again. I like how this came out quite a bit. Go back in with the worm gray. Sort of more of the shadow areas. Anyway, let's talk about hair. I'm going to go for not quite this color, almost a yellow red, I guess. I want sort of a ginger look. I think that this is going to, well, maybe I don't. Maybe brown, maybe this yellow and brown to do more of a, maybe these three, I think. Use the yellow red as sort of the highlight. To sort of highlight around the edge. They probably mentioned I am new to coloring, so some of this is just sort of an initial attempt. But some of these come out really cute. It helps when you have really good line art, but um, I'm basically just tracing over some of the lines that are in the art itself, just to sort of create sort of basically like a highlight color here. And I'm going to go into sort of a darker brown to just sort of, what you can do is essentially like re-wet the initial ink you put down, and then that will help the colorants sort of blend together a little bit more. And since hair isn't perfect, um, you can sort of, I'm kind of doing little bits, but I'm not doing everything, just to sort of leave a little uniqueness. Let's just test this brown to see. Yeah, I think that'll be a good sort of color to bring it all together. And if we want to go back later and sort of add a little more of the yellow back in, because I think it kind of, sometimes the first color you use sort of gets lost, we can certainly do that. I guess it bears explaining that typically when people do coloring, they'll tend to do the skin and then the hair, and then they will do sort of the rest. I'm just taking a little, darkening up a little on the areas that are highlighted because I think some of that kind of got washed off. And yeah, I'm going to want to come back in with the yellow, I think, just to sort of add that color back. Although with the brown, this is sort of going to be much yellower or much browner than yellow, but I don't know. I think it works. So what color should Ian's hair be? That's interesting. I want to use some greens for sure. I don't know. Do we want to give him like vibrant red hair? I did kind of like the time I gave him teal hair here, so I think we'll go back to this color combo, which you can't see, but pale blue 6 is the darkest, then green 6 is sort of the mid-tone, and then the blue-green is the uh, highlight base tone, whatever term you wish to use. So we're gonna basically just go into like the tips of his hair and add in the blue. I don't think he wouldn't have any on the sides, and I will go and just trace some of these lines out a little bit. Just to give him sort of wacky hair. Um, Green 6, I feel like, is also fairly dark, so I'm just going to sort of pull that color in as well. Because hair is individual pieces, you don't really need to uh, be 100% perfect, in my opinion, because it's just sort of like, just kind of fun. And then I'm going to use the teal or blue-green 4, if you prefer, to just sort of blend this all together. And I'm also going to use the teal. I also want to use on the sides a bit. I didn't line the top of his head, so I think I may come back with. I'm putting on about 2 layers of the blue-green, just because I feel like that will, uh, makes more sense with the color palette we're going for. I do want to come in with a little more blue around the top here, just to sort of have it make a little bit more sense. There we go. And I'm going to go do that a little more, just because I like the blue and would like it to be a little more present. Okay, I like how that looks. And we can go back in an area like this where you'd probably like it to be blended out more than it is. You can always sort of go back and use the wrong color, and well, that'll be interesting. Um, Blue-green would have been the right color to use there, but hey, we can work with it. Going to basically go and overlayer this and basically make some pretend lines with the blue just to sort of break up that green. And I think that should get us about where we want to be. Yeah. This blue-green dries really light, so that's why I'm kind of overlaying it, because I'd like the top of his head to be a little bit darker. Yeah, so I'm liking how that's feeling at the moment. So I think a green 2 would be... I think I'll do the counters in probably the gray-green 1, because it's a really nice sort of light tone. So I'm just gonna... just doing horizontal stripes here to sort of make it seem a little bit more like it's wood, or at least a little bit distressed. And I'm going to go on to the tip and make sure the top of the counter is covered. And see how that sort of works out. It gives you a little more of a distressed look, I guess. I'm going to take that same color and use that as sort of the highlight color on the cash register. And then I'm going to think I'll go in with the warm gray 1 we thought was a little dark for last time, and just sort of come in like that. I like leaving the price tag white, I think. And also, let's use this warm gray 1 on the edge of the egg carton. I think I will grab the, not that color, but the warm gray 05 to sort of finish out our egg carton. Do sort of rounder strokes on the actual cartons. And I really like how that turns out. So really the only question, I think we were going to go with sort of a green sort of color palette, like a dark green. So we're going to use green 1 and green 2, which are both pretty dark, and you don't need to mess stuff up on your desk doing that. But so that to me is a very sort of rose green. That's a little bit more vibrant, but we're going to go for sort of a darker color on the edges here of the shirt. Then grab our warmer green and grab the right end of the warmer green. And we will give them green shirts. Guess we could go do the other shirt while we're at it. Let that dry, and I'm probably going to come in with a little bit of the Worm Gray 01. So the manifest benefit of some of this is when you're coming back in, being somewhat careful around the apples, because I'll probably want them to be red. And I'll just come in with our detail tip here for be really hard to get areas. Here you see a benefit of like actually doing the skin first because this green covered off up our little boo-boo a bit. Let us grab a brown for his pants. Just do a little bit. And then back to the warm gray to sort of pull that color. And depending on how you're actually using the tip of the marker, you can actually, if you sweep over the existing color, it'll tend to pull it, and that'll help that blending there a little bit. Let's grab. I think his shoes, I just want to be like straight up brown. Yeah, that's sort of a contrast to the pants. And we were going to come in with a little brown for the apron. This is sort of a warmer brown, obviously. We'll just go and do the straps with that. This is the lightest brown, and then I'm just going to go back to the marker we've been using all day and blend that out a little bit. Pretty much this part of the sketch is done, or I should say this part of the coloring. And I do want to use, again, for here, I definitely want some brown pulled in, and I want to really sort of rip it up a little bit. I mean, give it a little more texture. This is another brown that I'll come in with, and then we'll blend it out. But I think this should give us sort of a more wooden crate kind of vibe. I think we'll come in with the light brown again with the detail, and do our straps quick. Can't really see anything else there, but I will come in with could also, I think I'll want brown too in a bit, but we can. The interesting thing to me is like this color on the pants with the gray and with this brown blends totally differently. Anyway, we probably need to pull a color I don't have to make the carrots orange. Here we go. This is yellow red 5, which is a little too brown. This is probably more carrot. This looks very carroty to me. There we go. Just come in a little bit there. I also want to find more of a true red for the apple. Perhaps like a candy apple red. This is R8. As you can see, that is quite dark. Almost too dark. Let's see if we can't find something. Well, we could use well, we'll cheat and use well, I guess not cheat, but use our highlighter pink from, that we've been blending dresses with all day. Well, not all day, but on the channel. And use that for our apples, I think. I do notice that I forgot to do the crate, so let's A little bit of that in. I think I'm going to put another layer here on the front just to darken this up a little bit. And I'm just going to grab a few random colors with the detail end for the boxes underneath the crate. That the crates I'm probably going to make brown because to me that makes sense. But we can just go in and just to give the boxes sort of a more lived-in look, I guess. Interestingly, this makes a really nice brown, so I think I will use this and this brown in concert for the edge here. Then let's grab a gray or a green gray, or how about just do a, well, the green grays are really nice. Let's use a green gray on this box on the bottom. Again, I'm using sort of side swipes, but I'm doing that so I think I'll come in with a little bit of the brown. But leave enough of the green gray. And the one thing I do want to do is put away some of the markers I don't need anymore, but I want to find probably the warm gray here. And what we can do is just create some little shadows underneath here just to kind of ground this. I think I'm going to also come in with the green gray one, just because this looks very much like, yeah, I think this looks better. Just going to cover that over a little bit. And then I'll come back in and blend that out a little bit. I think our scene is basically together at this point. I am letting that dry a little bit, but I do want to come in with a little bit of our blue. And make sure you know where your blue brush is. But I just want to edge this a little bit to kind of, I don't want to use, I'm not using a ton of ink here. I just want enough to just sort of create sort of some synergy between the top of the card, well, basically between the card and the base. There we go with that. I think we will bring a little, this is wintergreen, which is a very pale green. But if I find my green brush, this I was actually using some black on, so I think this will work. So this brush I've used black and green on, I'm gonna come in and just bring in a little bit of the wintergreen at the bottom here, just to sort of do a similar thing. There we go. Just to sort of add to the edge of the card. You can't see that. Let me just move this back and let's just zoom up, 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 up. Sorry if you're dizzy now. There we go. grab my rag and just clean off the top of my Misty quick. And all we really need to do is put this guy together. Should be relatively straightforward because all we really need to do is tape down this panel to the card base and we are good to go. As mentioned, the card itself is super simple. It's mostly just a coloring project. And if you prefer, you can, of course, glue this down. It will have sort of a similar impact. But that is what we have for this week's Craft Roulette. And I hope you enjoyed the video and all the coloring we've been doing lately. Talk to you guys later. Thanks for checking this out.